Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I have here, some information, which this is an article that I just pulled up. What I really wanted to go into to start off is this here, this letter, right? Albert Pike letter to Mazzini. Now, this is we've gone into this many times, right? Again and again and again, but it's important to still bring it out some more. And here this outlines, okay, as it says, the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars back in 1871. And this outlines the fermentation and orchestration of the 3 world wars. And the 3rd World War, which is what we're going to focus on, you'll see how that's playing out now. Okay, so this has always been in the books, obviously by the spirit and power of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, putting it into their minds and their enterprise, okay, to be able to bring this to come to pass as we're seeing. All right, but the Lord still has some more up his sleeve, right? There's still some more prophecies that need to take place. But as, things are definitely picking up. So it's not going to be, just a sweet old nice environment, and then you're just cruising and chilling and all of a sudden this is happening. It's going to be intense. It's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be uncertain for a lot of people. But through the spirit and power of the Lord, we're going to be stable. So I'm going to start off here real quick. This is I'll read the intro, then jump down to the 3rd World War. But it says here, Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars, August 15th, 1871. And you have some that try to deny this, right, the authenticity of it, but just look at what is actually written in it, okay, and look at how these things actually played out in history, and you'll see whether it's authentic or not. The following is a letter that that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. And the scriptures talk about the 3rd World War, right? They talk about, the different wars that would take place. In Revelation 9, it describes World War I. And in many other chapters in Revelation, in the book of Revelation, it goes into the 3rd World War. So it says here, the Pike letter to Giuseppe Mazzini was on display in the British Museum Library in London until 1977. So it's not like somebody waited till the things that are happening now and today to go and then write this letter or try to forge this. This letter has been claimed by many internet sites to reside in the British Library in London, which denies the letter exists. And of course they're going to deny that. Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader in the mid-1800s, as well as the director of the Illuminati. Albert Pike, historical Masonic figure, was a 33rd degree Freemason, and you can look into that, occultist, Grand Master, and creator of the southern jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order. Following are apparently extracts, so not even the whole thing. These are extracts from the letter showing how 3 world wars have been planned for many generations. So I'm going to jump down to the 3rd World War and read just a little bit of it just to get the main part that we're looking for here, the part of interest. So it says here, the 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati. So the agents that have been embedded into the different countries and nations around the world, okay, would eventually stir up these differences, okay, between, as it says, the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. So you best believe Bibi is an agent, okay, as in one that is placed in there by them, okay, and they're all puppets that are being given orders on what to do. That's why they're so adamant on nonsensical things. You would think, like, bruh, what do you really hope to gain out of this? Because if this was about, peace for your nation, you're doing what is going to bring about the exact opposite. But it's not about peace for their nation. It's about world domination. And the sooner people open their eyes to that, well, maybe the better it be for them. But ultimately, we know how it's going to play out. And with that being said, before we continue reading, there is something I wanted to mention as well. Now, what you've been seeing, like when you listen to these analysts, international journalists, independent journalists, and they go on these different talk shows, and they give a lot of good information. But you'll notice, right, like in terms of their analysis of the foresight of what they see happening, it's about, okay, Iran wins by surviving, right? They're fighting for survival at this point. And if they I think Scott Ritter even mentioned this, right? If they outlast, okay, and are able to drive out the U.S. forces and so on, and the U.S. along with Israel, their goal was to cause a regime change, and if that doesn't happen, they lose. And that all makes sense. But then there's a mention of afterward, right? Afterward, which is, okay, now after Iran wins, right, or they've stabilized the region, then this is what they have to do in order to do this or to do that. But that's the thing. That's where the accuracy of these analysis, the analytics stop. And the scriptures tell you that in Second Ezra, the 5th chapter, which we'll get, Lord willing. But I'll quote it now just in case the Spirit takes it elsewhere and I'm not able to go to it. But Second Ezra, the 5th chapter, in the first few verses, it mentions that he whom they, matter of fact, since I just mentioned it, so I don't butcher it, let's go there real quick. And this is important to know and understand because it's all part of prophecy. Right now, we are in the supernatural yet natural part of super lowercase natural capital or uppercase part of prophecy, where people can still see things as realistically plausible, meaning that, okay, it's possible these things do happen, by themselves, in the sense of, like, it's normal that, yes, you would have war spark. It's not something absurd. It's not something that is, it's supernatural. It's never happened before, right? Wars have happened. They happen all the time. But when you get to a part where now you have, prophecy being fulfilled on a level that is now capitalizing the super in supernatural, that's where a lot of fear is going to really set into people's minds and uncertainty. When you get to the Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, where now you have the chariots, which the world knows as UFOs, start getting involved, okay, in the midst of World War III. No, none of these analysts they can't see that because they don't. It's not, that hasn't been given to them, to that's not their lot. Their lot is more from the natural part of things, right? From the military side, the strategic side, what's happening. But there is the prophetic side, which is really all of it encompassed, but we see far further than the carnal analysis. And that's where we differ. We're telling you that Second Ezra chapter 5, verse, let me see, verse 6, right? And this is after, it mentions that people on the earth being taken away in a great number, which is in verse 1. This is going to be due to this destruction, right? That's going to be happening. But in verse 6, after all this is happening, right? Verse 5 also describes the scene of chaos, buildings breaking and people being destroyed and their blood being splattered in the midst of the rubble and debris and so on from the impact of the missiles hitting. But verse 6, you notice it says, and even he shall rule whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth, and the fowls shall take their flight away together. And that's Israel, right? Being led by Yahushai, because the world does not expect that. You're not hearing anybody say that aside from us. The world is looking at it as, okay, well, once America loses, Iran stabilizes the region. If it's a world war, let's say that the side that Russia's on comes out successful, right, or triumphant, and Israel gets pummeled, then, they can set a new order, right, or they can push this now, or they can put measures in place to avoid this. But none of them are looking. That's why it says, even he shall rule whom they look not for. People on the earth are not thinking this war is going to lead to the actual reign of the true Israelites. Who would actually think, wait, you're trying to tell me that the so-called Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans, they don't even have a unified nation of their own to even be in this war. because it's not our lot to be, and they're gonna rule. It's more realistic in people's minds that a country like China or Russia or some new formation of a power structure would be the ones to assume rule, right, and reign over the world as a new empire. But that's how prophecy works. So that twist is coming, where a lot of the supernatural parts of prophecy that you can't foresee with a carnal mind, spiritual power, okay, the Lord's return, people getting beamed up, the elect getting delivered, looking like an alien invasion. They're not expecting that. And Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, tells you exactly that. Go and read it. So this is going back to this letter here, the Third World War. Continuing, it says here, the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, right, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what they're trying to cause. That's what they're trying to achieve here, okay, with this war. So it's not by coincidence that it wasn't Russia and Ukraine that triggers or that's triggering a world war, that's destabilizing the world and messing up the world economy and all of that. No, okay, it's between the state of Israel, political Zionism, and the Muslim Arabic world, because they're the ones who were set up, okay, to play this role. And this is also in line with biblical prophecy, right? The countries that are going to be involved in this war and who's going to be triggering it and who the main core of it is going to be between, and then how that's going to play as a vortex to draw in, right, the other nations, right? It says here, meanwhile, the other nations, once more, divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. Is there not a division right now? You have some nations. What is happening with Spain? Spain said no. They're not supporting this war, and they're not allowing the U.S. to use them as a means to further this war. Trump said, okay, then we're going to embargo you, right? We're going to put an embargo on you. We're going to cut you off. And even if we wanted to, we could just come up and use your land anyway. But there's a division. I mean, you can't have a war if everybody's unified. So it's a division. And it's going to draw in like a vortex all these nations that the Lord has destined to be involved in this war right into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay? It says here, you see economic exhaustion, right? We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke, and look that word up, nihilists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So that's yet to happen, but that's going to come next, as you're seeing this this trigger that has set off this back and forth between the nations over there in that region. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. They're going to be lost because of how drained and messed up they're going to be, not just by the war, because it says what? Everywhere, the citizens in different countries, mainly here in Babylon too, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. See that? In the public view. That's where they're going with it. This manifestation will result in from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So you can see why they're going to come against those that fear the Lord as well. But this is all in line with biblical prophecy. So let's go real quick, and then we'll get that other article I have here. Zephaniah 1 and 8. It says, and it shall come to pass. Actually, no, it's not. This is not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for, let's see here. or it might not be 1 and 8, it might be 3. Yeah, let's just look it up here. It's to gather. And these precepts, they're going to keep coming out. The same ones, they're going to keep coming out because that's the times that we're in. It's Zephaniah 3 and 8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. See, and what have we been doing? We had no option but to wait. But we're seeing that the Lord, as he said he would do, is working. Right? As physically involved as these nations are in this war, it's really through the workings of the Heavenly Father. And a lot of people don't understand that. Until it says that the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determinations, my intentions, my plan, what I have determined, the sentence that I have given as the supreme judge of all creation is to gather the nations. The nations are being gathered. The war fronts are being set up. The everything is being put in place to set up and fulfill biblical prophecy. And everybody's going to start talking about it more and more. And you're going to hear also talks about the Bible go up more. Because when people see this, they subconsciously and consciously associate it with Revelation, apocalypse, end time destruction. And then that goes back to the Bible. So people are going to want to know. They're going to have questions. They're going to want to talk about it now. But for some, it's going to be too late. Talking about it's not going to fix it. It says, my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms and pour upon them mine indignation. So whatever the outcome of the destruction that's going to go on over there, it's going to be through the anger of the Lord. And they are going to put troops on the ground. They're going to send boots over there. All right, troops, boots, whatever you want to say that, they're going to send it over there. Because they're saying now that Iran is preparing for a prolonged war. Okay, and you know, it's gonna be this thing is just now getting started. Okay, this is the very beginning. This is the beginning stages of it, but there's a lot more to transpire. Okay, that's gonna keep on manifesting more and more and more, ultimately into the fulfillment of all these prophecies that are left to occur. It says to pour upon them mine indignation, even my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. That's referring to the missiles, the nuclear missiles that will be shot off to destroy certain parts of the earth. When it says all the earth, there is land. In the Hebrews, aratizah, all the land. And what land? Not the entire planet, but certain portions of it. Now, real quick, this is jumping here to Joel 3 and 9, which is another prophecy concerning World War III. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, which are these nations, right? Iran, Russia, Israel, U.S., Turkey, the NATO countries. These are all Gentile nations. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, which are your soldiers and your army and your military, and waking them up, meaning you prepare them for war. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords. Plowshares are for agricultural tools. Swords are for war. And your pruning hooks likewise into spears. Spears are for war. Let the weak say, I am strong. So this in the modern sense is investing in war, missile defense systems, missiles, bombers, what do they call those things? Aircraft carriers and all of those. Those are, submarines. That is beating your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. You're investing in military might in preparation for what? For this war. And that's what France is doing here, right? Which is one of many countries that are realizing that the way things are transpiring, everybody got to get ready to protect themselves. Just like the Arab nations, the Gulf nations, are realizing that, yeah, the U.S. does not have your best interest in mind. Okay, and that's going to be that shock. It's going to wake them up to say, yeah, if you think you're going to be, on the side of the U.S. or Israel, you're expendable. Okay, they're going to throw you out there. You're going to get your ass hurt, beat, and obliterated. And in the name of what? Nothing. For people that use you as pawns. So eventually they're going to say, well, we gotta get our mind right. The enemy is not in front of us, it's behind us. We got to turn around. Okay, it says France to boost nuclear arsenal and extend deterrence to European allies. See that? And with that nuclear arsenal, eventually you'll see where they point that at. That's in Revelation, the 17th chapter. France is to boost its nuclear arsenal and extend the deterrent to cover other European countries in a major development of its nuclear defense policy. In a speech in Brittany, President Emmanuel Macron explained the changes as the response to an increasingly unstable strategic movement. The next 50 years will be an era of nuclear weapons, he said. He's throwing that number out, very loosely, because you don't worry about the next 50 years. Worry about what's going to happen within the same year you're in. Speaking to naval officers in front of a nuclear submarine at the Il Long, if I'm pronouncing that right, Longe, that's a joke, base near the port of Brest, he's he said the number of French nuclear warheads would be increased from their current level of around 300. He announced the launch he announced the launch in 2036 of a new nuclear armed submarine to be called the Invincible. Yeah, now who the hell is going to be here fighting a nuclear war in 2036? Bruh, that's 10 years from now. The war that's brewing over there in the Middle East and with Iran and Israel, it's going to last 10 years for you to give you time? You better speed that shit up. Now, he might have just thrown that name out there. I mean, that timeline out there just because they're trying to also keep this, not obviously not expose everything that they're doing. But they're going to speed this up much quicker than that because they're going to realize, you need to go into production mode ASAP. Because this war is going to intensify as more countries and more nations join, at the timeline the Lord has set. Okay, whether that's, immediately through what we're seeing now, or whether it's after, a cool down period, or whether it's during, the point of sending troops over there. Okay, whatever the case is, the timeline the Lord has set is going to line up perfectly with the introduction and implementation of the mark of the beast and the consequence of World War III. So going back to Zephaniah 3 and Joel 3 and 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, which this precept lines up with Zephaniah, because this is the gathering of the nations, the heathen nations, to the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat, the Lord's judgment. It says here, and gather yourselves together round about, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That wakening is that basically the mindset of war, right? Dusting off the helmets and the boots and the shields, and basically getting sharp and ready to come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. See, that's where the Lord is going to gather them to bring judgment. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. And in the book of Matthew, the Lord mentioned the harvest representing the end of the world. So basically, it's time, is what this verse is saying. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The press is talking about the wine press. When you put the grapes in there, and now it's full of grapes, and now you have to come and step on it to stomp out the grapes and bring out that oil, or not the oil, the blood of the grapes. It says the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. See, it's metaphorical speech, likening their wickedness or them to be like the grapes that are ready to be trodden down, or the harvest that's ready to be reaped. And that reaping is going to be through destructive judgment. Verse 14, multitudes in the valley of decision. Where is the valley of decision? Yahweh Shaphat, the valley of Jehoshaphat, the place where the Lord is going to decide, or where he has decided to bring judgment upon these nations via this third world war. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. So that's pretty much it for this lesson. But I wanted to mainly deal with this part right here. Just keep in mind that it's no coincidence that this war is being fomented and cemented between the Muslim Arabic world and political Zionism, or the state of Israel, because that was what was on the books to happen anyway. which the reason it was on the books or in the letter was because the Lord had already set it up to be that way to begin with. So, Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.